We are here today to celebrate the life, the wonderful, full life of Robert, Rob, or Bob Gomez. Bob was a very loyal and devoted husband, father, grandfather, friend, and teacher. I've known Bob for 45 years. In fact, my wife and I have known Bob and Yvonne for 45 years. We met at Lee High School when we were both first-year teachers. Bob had taught an additional, I think, year at a junior high school and then had come over to Lee. We did a lot of things together in that 45 years. We golfed, we fished. The first one not real successful. The second one we did have some success. We attended the theater often. We attended games. We obviously shared, probably by my stomach, not his, but shared a lot of wonderful meals throughout the world, all the way from the Pyrenees, a vast meal in a very small village in the Pyrenees, to the Commander's Palace in New Orleans, places like Las Vegas, and of course San Francisco itself. Not to least mention the number of meals at his home and the wonderful Thanksgivings that we've had with Bob and Yvonne. There are really three words to me that describe Bob's life: music, Cupertino, and humor. How many people here were students of Bob's at Cupertino or Lee? Look at the hands. Thank you. What a wonderful testimony to Bob's impact on young people to see all of those hands in this sanctuary today. I was a student of his also. The first year that I was at Lee, we kind of had I guess you might call it a rat pack, or the Three Musketeers, Bob and I, and another gentleman by the name of John Pleasant. John Pleasant and I happened to be in the Army National Guard. He was in a band. I was lugging ammunition and food. And one day, John and Bob got the idea. They asked me, "Have you ever played an instrument?" And I said, "Well, yeah, a long time ago. I played in the middle school band. I played drums." And John said, "Well, then you're going to be in the band. You don't need to be lugging that ammunition anymore." And I said, "But I don't really remember how to do that." And I was concerned that there was probably going to be some type of audition. Well, Bob jumped right in and he said, "After school, every day now, until you go to that band, I am going to teach you again the drums." So we spent a number of afternoons doing paradiddles and flams and rolls and double paradiddles, and I made the band. I didn't have to carry ammunition. I didn't have to carry food. I had to probably carry like a big bass drum or some cymbals, but I owed that to Bob. So I was one of Bob's students as well. Music obviously was a large part of his life, as demonstrated today in this sanctuary, as demonstrated by his Cupertino band in the Rose Parade, by playing Hail to the Chief to Richard Nixon, by all the concerts and all the musicals that he produced at Lee, and we were sorry to see him go, and at Cupertino High School, plus his adult band, the Cupertino Adult Band, and the concerts that they also give, and the parades that the adult band as well as the high school band marched in locally. So music was a big part of his life, but it wasn't all of his life. If you knew Bob, you'd think that he was paid by the Chamber of Commerce of Cupertino. He was born in Sunnyvale. He was a man of the earth. He was born in a Spanish family. They did a lot of things that you would expect people to do in that age and that era, including orchards, and he talked about skinning rabbits. I hope there's nobody from PETA here, but he talked about skinning rabbits and all the different things that his family did at that time. And he was a man of the earth, and even up to the day that he died, he had a garden. I remember on Luray, he had a very small garden that he had used, and where they presently live, he of course had tomatoes and different kinds of fruit trees. In fact, Yvonne calls it Bob's Grove. It's still there. He was a man of the earth. He saw this valley grow from just orchards to what it is today. But he never really regretted that, and he never really felt that that was a bad thing. He accepted that, and he was able to live with that. Every time we went somewhere, Bob would engage somebody in conversation. Cab driver, a food server, somebody sitting next to us at a ball game or the theater, and he would always want to know where they were from. I don't know that he really cared where they were from, but he wanted them to know that he was from Cupertino. Why Cupertino? I'm not real sure, but Cupertino seemed to be home for him. Second home, maybe Hawaii, but Cupertino certainly was his first home. So I would say that certainly one of the things I would remember about him is as I drive through Cupertino, I will remember Bob. Humor, and I think you've all been touched by his humor. We laughed a lot. We got in trouble sometimes too. We always had fun together, whether it was a bad shot playing golf or we fell down on a fishing boat trying to bring in some fish. He always seemed to be able to make that humorous. And I'm thinking of a couple of stories. One time we visited them on Maui, and we decided, the ladies, my wife and Yvonne, were horse people, and they decided that we should go to Makawa. He loved to say that word, Makawa. He used to say that all the time. And we would go up. They decided they wanted to go horseback riding, so, well, we figured we'd go along. So we got up there, everybody got on their horses. We finally got Bob and me, and finally got Bob on his horse, and I turned around and looked at him, and he looked like the man from La Mancha. He was sitting very erect and very, very proud, and he looked kind of like a knight or a warrior of some type. And then the horse took the first step. Then he looked more like Lee Marvin in Cat Ballou. That horse, he had a name for that horse, and I can't really tell you what that name was here. But to this day, that horse, at least to the four of us, is named that name. It may be something else on Maui, but it's named that name. He survived it, obviously, but I wouldn't call him a great horseman. Another time, we were visiting in Turkey, a village called Ephesus, which is an old Roman ruin in Turkey. And I remember two things about that particular day. One was that we went through a Turkish bazaar. Now, if you know Bob, you probably know he doesn't like to have people kind of, pawing at him and wanting him to buy something. He didn't really like that. And we had about a block of that bazaar to go. He went through that like Emmitt Smith went through the 49er defensive line. He didn't take any time at all, and then he just waited for us on the other end. We strolled through the town of Ephesus, the old Roman ruins of Ephesus in Turkey, and we were surrounded by columns and broken statuary and rocks and all this kind of thing. And the two ladies were ahead of us, and Bob and I were together, and we were snapping pictures and that kind of thing. And all of a sudden I realized that he wasn't next to me. And I turned around, and there he was, standing on about a 2-foot pedestal, looking for all you could look like as a Roman emperor, with his hand to his chest. I looked to see if there was a picture over there. I think we got some pictures of it. But you can imagine Bob standing there with his hand to his chest, erect. He should have been an emperor. He should have been. Maybe, well, he couldn't have been Nero, but somebody like that. I really want to thank Bob and salute him for allowing me, to be his friend. Whenever you go to where you're going to go, if you see somewhere or hear somewhere laughter and music, you'll know that Bob is around. Thank you.